Thank you for attending our Community Public Safety Committee meeting for today, which is Monday, October the 26th. We have a good participants here so far. We have our agenda. For the agenda, our last week and discussed different items that were concerned for the community and the committee had. So that's what we're going to be doing on a weekly, on a monthly basis. What we do that we have a pre-meeting just to discuss it with the team, so that and for the community, so we'll be better prepared, and our meetings that these meetings could go much smoother and much quicker for everyone involved. First, we have Lincoln Terrace Park. They had shootings in the park. We wanted to address, see how we can work with that. Broward Park, they also had shots fired in the area. Another concern that we have for our community is face mask enforcement to prevent shutdowns in areas of Crown Heights, Prospect Heights, due to the increased number of COVID-19 cases. Yeah, we definitely want to address that because New York had a lot, and especially with and the schools, and we really don't want to go back into that category. And there was a concern also with traffic enforcement. We had a large amount of since a lot of people are off the streets because of COVID. You see a lot more cars are speeding in the area. So these are the general topics that we have for the agenda for today. Whatever concerns that we may have as members and as the community, we can definitely speak on that. What we're going to do, we're going to turn it over to the Deputy Inspector, and we'll be able to just speak on just give us a summary of what we have going on. We haven't seen you guys. We haven't seen you in quite a while. Just give us a little summary of what we have going on, and also we can run through the agenda.
Okay, excuse me. I just want to cut in. Can everyone mute themselves until you're ready to speak? Thank you.
All right, Mark, we good?
Not just yet. People have not muted yet. Just to take care of all the background
Just let me
noises,
know.
please, if everyone could mute. Can everyone mute themselves, please? Great, including myself. Thank you.
All right. All right, well, good evening, everyone. As Mark said, I'm Deputy Inspector John Buttacavoli, Commanding Officer of the 7-7. I know I look at the faces and I've met most of the people in the room, but just for anyone who hasn't, met me, so I don't know. I hear someone talking. I get someone who's not muted. Mark, just a brief overview. Obviously, 2020 has had a tremendous amount of challenges. We began the year.
Jumping up like.
I don't know. Someone's not on mute. We began the year with with some increased crime early in the year, if you remember. And then once COVID started to hit, we saw a dramatic decrease in crime, but we didn't see a decrease in violence. And Crown Heights, the 7-7 precinct, we, like much of the city, that's the theme of the year this year. Has been this increase in shooting violence. When I first got here in 2017, my first year here, we had two homicides all year. It was probably the best year for homicides that I looking back on the CompStat sheet I'd ever seen. Unfortunately, we've seen a dramatic increase since then. So 14 in 2019, and we have 15 homicides this year in 2020. With that increase in homicides, we also have a dramatic increase in shooting incidents. So the shooting incidents are 46 versus 21. So it's 46 incidents this year versus 21 last year at this time. So, you can see how dramatic those numbers have increased. And in fact, our worst period was from June 15th until really mid-August. It was a 56-day period where there were 25 shooting incidents. Now, 25 is the most amount of shootings that I've seen in any one full year since I've been here. So we had pretty much a full year's worth of violence packed into 56 days over this summer. And if you guys remember, that was right after we had pulled, the NYPD had announced that they were no longer, going to have the anti-crime, and there were a number of bills passed, if you remember that, at pretty much at the same time. So that's the picture on violence. I'll answer some of these questions that you have as soon as I'm done. In terms of regular crime, in terms of our seven majors, which is obviously your robberies, felony assaults, burglaries. What we've seen this year is we've actually had an overall decrease in robberies year to date. We're spiking right now for the 28-day period, and I'll get to that because you mentioned Broward Park in it, so I need to talk about robberies in and around Broward Park. That's for the 28-day period. Year to date, where we've seen really two crimes that have really driven us are going to be burglaries. Burglaries in two forms. One is going to be commercial burglaries, and most of that we've seen along Nostrand Avenue. And then you have your residential burglaries, but they're not your traditional residential. Most of the time, these burglaries are going to be package thefts from inside of buildings. So people are breaking into buildings while people are, at work, or maybe not, after their package has been delivered, and that is another reason why we've had a dramatic, spike in burglaries. The other crime that's really driving us is your grand larceny of autos, and that's going to be, the passenger type vehicles. We've also had some motorcycles mixed in there, and some commercial vehicles like Ford Econoline trucks and things of that nature. But we're 88 versus 59, so that's an increase of 30 stolen vehicles, which is traditionally a pretty low crime here in Crown Heights. Like I said, we're seeing a pretty dramatic spike, as we were with the burglaries. So that's kind of like the crime picture in what we're seeing. 28-day, we're actually down. Just overall crime year to date, we're almost flat with last year. There's only an increase of 7 crimes year to date. So we're right on par with where we were last year. And again, this leads me back to this year has been driven by violence, and that's really what what we're looking at. We continue to do phenomenal in gun arrests with 98 gun arrests for the year. So the police officers are actually doing a great job. We're up for the period, for the 28-day period, 14 versus 11 in gun arrests, and just slightly down for the year to date in gun arrests. But last year we had a record year in gun arrests, so we're down from one of our best years in making gun arrests. And I have a feeling that by the time December comes, we're going to be very much even with that gun arrest number, which, like I said, last year we did a phenomenal job in making taking guns off the street. So just to get to some of this agenda here and some of the questions that I see, and then I can open it up to questions. But Lincoln Terrace Park. So Lincoln Terrace Park, incredibly concerning. We did have one shooting incident there last year, which was July 2nd of last year. This year, however, we have 2 homicides that have occurred there. And you guys may remember I think it was July 2nd of this year, there was a homicide near the tennis court. We kind of, we have an idea of what motivated that crime. We believe it's the K2 trade that occurs in and along that Ralph Avenue corridor into Lincoln Terrace Park. And then we had that, terrible incident on August 9th where an unattended victim was shot and killed. And we also, we don't have a suspect yet. We are close to that. And we know that was driven by gang violence, that 2 gangs had agreed to meet up and fight. Someone fired a gun, and this unintended victim was shot. So since that incident, we've really increased our presence in Lincoln Terrace Park. And that kind of leads into the camera question. So we've acquired 3 new cameras. Actually, it's more than 3, but there's 3 exact locations that cameras were placed. So it's going to be around the field house in Lincoln Terrace Park. Then we have cameras at the entrances on Rochester and on Buffalo. So we've really stepped up our our cameras around Lincoln Terrace Park. Luckily, since the summertime, we haven't had any other major crimes in the park. But it's enough to say that it's even if nothing happens, we've really had a terrible run in Lincoln Terrace Park. The next thing I see on your agenda is Broward Park, and that leads me into I'll get to your question first, which was shots fired, gun activity around Broward Park. So I would say about 3 weeks ago, there was a known gang member that was released from prison. We know that several people had wanted to take a shot at him, and over the course of several days, there was continuous shots fired in the area. We were aware of this person. We were watching him, and we actually wound up collaring him with a gun a little bit later on. So you may notice that the shots fired around Broward Park has slowed down. It's because we believe that it was driven by some gang violence, and we made some good arrests around the park over there. So we're thinking that will stop right now. With that being said, there are some concerning robberies that are happening now. Last week, we did make some very good robbery collars, and we thought that might be the end of it. But unfortunately, I saw robbery incidents after we made the robbery arrest. So maybe we don't have that problem as solved as I thought. So we've been deploying anti-crime and patrol around Broward Park, and we're keeping a close eye on it to make sure that the park is as safe as possible. I'm just going to skip the mask question. I'll do that one last. But just traffic enforcement, increased number of speeding vehicles. Obviously, with reduced traffic, I think this has been the theme all year, that there has been an increase in speeding vehicles. There is also an increase in speeding summonses. For the 7-day, 28-day, year to date, obviously, year to date, this has been a challenging year. So there's an overall decrease in speeding summonses that were written this year. But with that being said, like I said, if the most recent periods are any indication, we are starting to really take heavy enforcement against speeding. With that being said, if there are any specific areas that are concerning to you, just let me know. When you get a chance to ask your questions, or Mark, you can always pass that to me. Give me that information of where people are seeing traffic, incidents of speeding increasing, and we can always send our traffic guys over there. So the last question on the agenda before I tackle the mask problem is cameras. So we have a great number of new cameras that have been installed. Now, they're not necessarily the Argus cameras. The last new Argus camera that we had was in Stroud Park. But there's been a lot of recent violence, maybe some community members know, around Utica and St. John's. So we got a new camera. There's a THV right now out on St. John's between Rochester and Utica. We have the very large NYPD THV, and we also put a light tower over there. So we have some cameras, some newly installed cameras on St. John's. I mentioned that we have cameras over in Lincoln Terrace Park. We also were successful in getting cameras over to St. Mark's Playground, which we have a number of community complaints around the playground with noise, dice playing, and other such quality of life complaints. We've also had a lot of violence in and around St. Mark's Playground this year. We also have new cameras at on Sterling and Rochester, in that area of Sterling, Rochester to Buffalo, and to be honest, Taru, which is our support for installing cameras, has been nothing short of amazing. Pretty much anything that we asked for, we're able to get. I don't know if anyone has seen this also, but there's a tremendous amount of light tower resources that we have deployed. So we have them on St. John's from Schenectady, from Troy to Schenectady. We have light towers in and around St. Mark's Playground again. We have light towers on Sterling from Buffalo to Rochester. Light towers at 1483, 1483 St. John's, like I said earlier. And we also have a light tower on Nostrand and Prospect. So, we've really gotten a lot of support from the borough, a lot of resources that are coming in, and, pretty much doing anything that we can to stop violence. As a matter of fact, after our terrible 56-day period of violence, we actually had a 28-day period with 0 shootings. So unfortunately, since then, we've had a couple of incidents, namely, really on St. John's. That's been driving us most recently. And that's pretty much what we've seen, this year. Obviously, none of the information that I gave you is incredibly, specific. But if you have any questions, I'll open it up. Before I do that, yep, one second, Cynthia. I know you got your burn. You got a good question. I'll get to you in one. But the face mask enforcement, obviously the NYPD, our position has been in education, in giving out face masks, in really trying to just spread awareness and encourage people in the community to wear those. We've obviously mandated right now that our police officers wear them, and I think more often than not nowadays, whereas in the past, maybe the police officers weren't as good as it. They're getting a lot better, and I think the majority of the time you'll see them with wearing masks out there. So, Mark, with that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to you to kind of call on people to ask questions.
Sorry, let me unmute myself. Thank you. You went through a lot of information just now. I just want to, before I open up the floor, we said that with the 98 gun arrest, with those, were they done by plainclothes officers, or do we have that's enforcing the removal of guns on the street?
Well, Mark, as you know, the police commissioner stopped all anti-crime activity on June 15th. So there are no plainclothes police officers right now, deployed by the 7th precinct. The 98 gun arrests, is a year-to-date number. So that's what we've done for the year. So early in the year, some of those gun arrests would have been done by anti-crime police officers, but to be honest with you, we've probably had we've really been doing well after we pulled the plainclothes units. We have guys that are out in uniform, and some guys are just incredibly good at doing this. They know how to find gun arrests, and some of it's done through intelligence, search warrants, and other such methods. But it is our main focus right now. When we do proactive gun enforcement, it leads to a decrease in shooting crime. So, like I said, the men and women of the 7-7 are still, they're still getting it after. They're still doing a good job getting guns off the street.
Okay, we'll open up the floor to the public. Cynthia, you have a question?
Yes, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but just about every time I go out, I see people riding motorbikes on the sidewalk, and I've had some close calls, and the problem seems to have gotten worse this year. And it's as if people feel that's what they should do, is ride motorbikes on the sidewalk. Is there something that can be done about this? I don't feel safe walking down the street.
Cynthia, that's a great question, and I really appreciate it. I'm going to agree 100% with you. They're not necessarily motorbikes. I think what you're seeing, and I do see motorbikes. So I'm not going to lie to you about that. The e-bikes to me are one of the the biggest problems that we're having right now. I believe, and we've actually seen violence along with that. So we've seen our most recent shots fired over on Park in Schenectady. The perpetrators of that crime rode up on e-bikes and committed the shots fired. They didn't. Luckily, nobody was hit, but they did come with their guns. And there was also a recent shooting on St. John's, again from Rochester to Utica, in which the assailants actually rode up on gas-powered motorcycles onto the sidewalk and did their shooting and turned around and left on the gas-powered motorcycle. So it is extremely concerning to me. I've asked my traffic and my patrol units to step up enforcement on those things, because I believe that that perpetrators are now using that as a way to do their violence. So, and that's not obviously not the only reason why I want to do enforcement. I want to do enforcement against those bikes because of people like you who are, scared to walk down the street in some incidents. Just in terms of motorcycles, the gas-powered motorbikes, I will say that, that kind of enforcement is extremely challenging because the NYPD policy, and I believe it's the best policy, is to not chase people on motorcycles. So if we chase after them, what happens is they feel inclined to take more risks and maybe ride on a sidewalk or ride through red lights, which would be a greater danger to the public than us not chasing them, because they'd be more likely to take greater risks. I don't feel that that's true necessarily with the e-bikes. So like I said, we really want to, really step up our enforcement against e-bikes, specifically traffic violations and riding on the sidewalk. So that's something that we're going to do, and I really appreciate that question.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Committee members?
So, no, Mark, I think you're having a little, I think Mark's having some.
Do we,
internet.
any questions?
Hey, Mark, can you hear me? So I think he's having, Mark, can you hear me now?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up?
Yep, Mark, yeah, you seem to be, we seem to be losing you. It's like a bad episode of Star Trek, right? Mark is coming in and out.
Yes, but we hear you perfectly clear, Commander.
All right, good. So, Mark, if anyone was reluctant to to ask a question or
Yeah,
a
so
question,
sometimes we have a problem with this WebEx, so it's in and out. Hopefully it'll come right back. Is it any
Okay.
better?
we're getting here a
No,
little
still
bit.
not.
So, if anyone out there has anything that Mark can always contact me.
Did we lose it?
We're losing you, Mark.
Mark,
Right?
you're the one losing signal.
Got the circle of death around them, right? The little spinning circle.
Sounds like it's coming
like I
out.
said, if anyone has questions, first of all, you can all always reach me, and Mark has my direct contact, as do many of you. So feel free to contact me. For those of you who don't know, tonight also the police commissioner is doing the listening tour. I think he did Brooklyn.
That can
already.
be bad connections.
Yep, we know. But I think he's doing the Brooklyn South. I think that's online. So if anyone wants to tune into the listening tour, the police commissioner is doing that tonight. I think it's 7:30 or so that the listening tour was supposed to be going. With that being said, hopefully we get Mark back soon. And thank you guys all for coming to the meeting and listening to me kind of go on and on for a little bit. So, all right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, Mark,
Thank you.
how you doing?
Mark, you're muted.
Mark, you're on mute. I don't know. There you go. You're back.
Okay.
Technology. Right?
Can't be-
It's not always perfect.
Well, I think
Okay.
all of the questions were answered, and maybe more specifically, we can get in touch with you directly. But thank you.
I know
Thank
there was
you
a
all. Good to see
question.
everyone
There was a
again.
question by someone last time, but I see he's not here. The question is, it is about the motorcycles, but on Bergen, it seems that there are a lot of speeding of cars and of motorcycles up and down Bergen. And I live near the precinct. I live down the block from the precinct, and they're literally from Ralph Avenue up. They're flying through the streets, and it's unsafe, unfortunate. And now that school's back in sessions, you know, you have the school at the corner of the block at the other end of 7, and they're flying even in the daytime. And so it makes it really unsafe. And I know that somebody else was complaining that further down Bergen, there's issues as that as well. Is there anything going to be done about that? Because they're passing the precinct.
Yeah, you know, like I said, in terms of the motorcycles, you know, like I said, it is very difficult for us to enforce because the people that are riding those motorbikes and you know quads and other such vehicles, they have no intention of stopping when the police try to stop them. So it does make it very challenging. And like I said, our policy is to not pursue, is to not pursue vehicles. So if I went to stop a motorcycle, and the rider of that motorcycle was like, "Oh, we're out of here," and they decided to go, 60 miles an hour on a sidewalk through a red light. Again, it's our policy, and I believe it's the best policy. Is to not chase them. It does make it very challenging to enforce. We do enforcement. A lot of times, what we'll do is when we see those big gangs of motorcycles, right? What we'll do is we'll deploy to certain areas like gas stations where we know that they may stop because they have to, and we'll try to get them, without chasing them. The other thing that we'll do is if we see motorcycles that are parked on the street that are unregistered, we will try to tow that vehicle before the person has a chance to ride it through the streets illegally. But I think we've seen this for a few years now. These big kind of gangs of motorcycles riding around the streets, and I can't sit here and tell you that it's difficult to enforce. That's the bottom line. We've tried different strategies, and we've been successful and not successful in some, but it is difficult. So we do our best to enforce it.
Okay. Yes, so we have any more hands up? There was a
There-
question. Yes, yes, sir.
No, I was just saying, no, there are no hands up yet.
Okay.
As of now.
Well, I received some emails in reference to the NCOs, the concerns that they had. One of the concern that they had was for this election day meeting, for Sector Boy. They were kind of well, I'll put it in mind, they was a little upset about it being election day because no one's going to be coming out to the meeting.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of that. I just, my NCO saw, and I know you emailed me and I answered you. I didn't like the idea of it. So I emailed my NCO sergeant today, and he's off today, so I don't expect him to answer me back. But I've asked him to cancel that meeting and reschedule it. Now I know that they're having some scheduling difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, I just don't like the idea. First of all, we need all of our manpower that day to focus on the election.
Mm-hmm.
So it presents a lot of challenges, and I've asked them to change that date.
Okay. Another concern that I had that I received emails on from the NCO is that they, when the community reach out to the MCO officers, when they call them, it seems like they're not able to reach anyone, and their voicemails hasn't been set up. So they had a concern. They were complaining to me in reference to that. So I don't mind them complaining to me. I mean, it comes with the territory of being in this chair. So I just, want you guys to be aware of that also, though.
Okay, it's a great point. We do, obviously, the NCOs have, changed over time. So you do have some new NCOs, mixed in with some of the old ones, but, you do have some newer officers. I'll double check to make sure that everyone has, the voicemail set up. Obviously, they're not mandated to carry their phone home, or anything like that, but they are here 5 days a week, and when they're here, they do answer it. But I'll make sure that the voicemails are set up, and any issues like that, Mark. If there's anyone specific, just always you can always just let me know, and I'll make sure it gets fixed.
Okay. Um, Let me see. We had a question. Someone was mentioning to me about foot patrols. Are we going to get any foot patrols in the area?
Mark, we've had foot posts all through since early June. We've had foot posts out there. We've had foot posts on Ocean Avenue. We've had foot posts at St. Mark's Playground. We've had foot posts, steady foot posts at Sterling and Rochester. Steady foot post on St. John's. From Troy to Schenectady. We've had foot posts on Prospects from Ralph to Buffalo. We have steady foot posts, and we continue to have steady foot posts that are out there. They're mostly working night tours, so they're right now they're starting at 5:30 p.m. But we've had them all summer long, and they've been out there.
Yeah, I do say I did notice them in the neighborhood, which was
Good
well.
thing.
I mean,
It's a good thing. We like having them.
let me see. Let me see if anybody else sent me some stuff. I think that was about it. And team, are you guys good for this meeting?
Mark, are you part of the city council or the community board 8? I don't know who anybody is.
Everyone on most of the people on the call are for Community Board 8, and
Oh,
this section is the Public Safety Committee for the Community Board 8.
okay.
And did you receive the mailing from the Community Board, or how did you receive the notice?
I looked you up.
Oh, that's beautiful. You know what? If you can ping me your email, we'll send you an email so that you'll be aware of the meetings that's coming about for the public.
I don't know your email.
THURTECH.
I'm sorry. THUR.
I'll ping it to you.
You'll do what?
I'll send you a notice. I'll ping it to you right now.
Okay. Oh.
So, Mark, while you're doing that, if I could just end on one note, just it is that violence is our biggest concern. It's been our biggest concern all year. Like I said, I'm starting to see the trends return back to normal. So I'm hoping that 2021, and I'm sure we all feel the same way. 2021 is much better than 2020 because 2020 can't end soon enough. So we're hoping to resume some normalcy real soon. And like I said, since mid-August, we've actually been doing very well. So it is our number one concern. It's what it's what causes me not to be able to sleep at night. So like I said, that's we're hoping 2021 is a lot better.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you. And Mark, I have your info. Thank you.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much for.
Yeah, one more question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Allison, you had a question?
I'm sorry. I think he's asking me if I had a question. But yes, just one final note. I think as COVID sort of rise, there may be new restrictions in place by the NYPD to protect us. Just what are some basic tips that residents, especially of hotspot areas, could sort of take to stay safe?
Is that question for me or Mark? Mark, I know you're on the safety board. Is there any recommendations from the safety board?
That was for you as well. but
Okay.
most-
Like I said, and I mentioned this earlier, NYPD is, we're about, education, we are, we give out masks if, our guys are in the park and people aren't wearing their mask. We'll ask people to mask up. I don't know if you remember, but earlier in the year, there was, some controversy about enforcement, so, we really do kind of, stay away from the enforcement side of it. We're not trying to, write summonses or arrest people or anything like that. But we are in the, like I said, the education business. So, our recommendations, if you go to the website, you'll see, obviously, it's always about, social distancing. We're not veering off of the knowledge that's out there. So, the masks and the social distancing. Like I said, we're just here to remind people that those are the steps that they should be taking.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, anything else, anyone? Cynthia, you're good?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for participating, Cynthia.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, guys, I guess this is well organized and everything went smooth. All right, so I guess we can close out the meeting at 6:55 on Monday. Thank you, Inspector.
Can I be heard?
Yes.
Who's
Okay, I've had a problem with this. It's been cutting off and on. I'm just able to come on with my phone. But I wanted to know, I wasn't able to hear everything, but I wanted to know if anything could be done about the speeding, because I didn't hear. Because we do have that problem, day and night.
Hi, Shirley.
Hi.
I'm sorry, did you talk about the speeding?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you did or not.
So we have stepped up enforcement in terms of speeding. If you have a specific location that you would like me to, to look at, just let me know
Yeah.
that.
Yes, I do. That's St. Mark's Avenue between Brooklyn and Kingston Avenue.
I know exactly where I know.
Yes.
I know your block well. So,
Okay.
now are we talking about cars, motorcycles, e-bikes? What type of speeding
Well,
do you
I'm
see?
talking about cars in the day as well as nighttime. I mean, actually, like it's a racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have the motorcycles coming by late at night, doing their whatevers. A lot of noise.
Okay. All right. I know exactly where you are. We'll take a look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Always good to hear from you.
Thank you.
okay? Anything else, anyone? All right, so I guess we can call it closing out the meeting at 6:57. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Good evening.
All right, bye-bye.